Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh, and I think it's day 25 of the franchise broker journey. I didn't really know what I wanted to talk about today, but actually, yesterday I went through and I started to look at all the experiments I was doing, all the things, and seeing like what results there were. So I think that's, probably a two-part thing that I really wanted to like hammer home today was, of course, having that spirit of experimenting and doing things, trying things out is going to be insanely huge because you don't even know what will work all the time. You don't know what you're going to even love doing. You don't know what's going to necessarily feel in alignment. So one of the big things that kind of came up for me is that I want to have that spirit of just trying things, of testing things out, of figuring out what works and what doesn't work. But one thing I don't always do a great job of is keeping track of what these experiments are, of closing the experiments when they don't kind of bear those fruits and bringing those things out. So the idea is kind of like to do like an A/B test, a rapid A/B test. You have kind of two things you're testing out essentially, and then you continually kind of tweak those things until you get to ultimately where you want to be. Mine ends up a lot of times being an A, B, C, D, E, F. You can get the idea of like exactly how those tests are. So it becomes a lot harder to be able to kind of iterate between two or three, four, five, six different things. So you want to try to keep it to maybe two different things, maybe three different things that you're kind of testing out simultaneously. But I am notorious for trying out lots of different things. Throwing things against the wall, but that's not necessarily always bad, especially if those two things or three things or four things are not kind of competing, or there's sometimes things that you just kind of sit it and see what's happening. But you want to kind of look at that data. I think that's the biggest thing that I want to kind of hammer home today is that that data, especially if you're doing stuff from a digital standpoint, is going to be huge. So whether we're talking about impressions, clicks, um, you know actually setting up time to speak or offers or whatever the KPI that you're measuring is going to be huge to kind of track. But one of the reasons I bring it up so much is that because if you're getting a lot of impressions but people aren't clicking, maybe it's something around the copy or the offer or something along those lines that is not resonating if you have an ad that you're putting out. But on the flip side, if you are getting a lot of clicks but people aren't converting, maybe it's something along the lines of a landing page, or maybe it's too slow, or maybe it's not the right offer, or maybe people just don't have a good journey to that landing page. So whatever that might be, it gives you a little bit more of a awareness around what's working and what's not when you have that data that you can lean on. But you never know if it's even worthwhile. So sometimes when you do it and you set it out, it doesn't end up happening, and you end up saying that, hey, this isn't necessarily for me. So maybe that's how it goes. And it's so important to make sure that you are doing that. This is for anybody that's getting started and testing out ideas, but frankly, it's for anybody that is doing anything, I think, in business or especially in marketing. You're going to constantly be testing out things, seeing what works and what doesn't work. And you want to create space and time to be able to do that. Some of the biggest brands you hear, they have their experimental time. Google's one of those where I think products like Gmail came out largely because people were experimenting, and they had their 20%, 15-20% time, I think it was, that they're experimenting. It becomes part of their ethos, their culture, and the thing that they're doing. It keeps them a big company, but also kind of taps into um, that innovation and moving fast and breaking things because you have space and time to do that. So I think that that's all pretty cool to be able to do and to leverage. And I think it's so important as CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business owners that we are creating space and time to experiment, but also creating space and time to make sure that we're reviewing those experimentations to see what's working and what's not. But that's the big thing that's kind of coming up for me. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to even track those experiments even more, because you do want to be like the kid that's trying out new things. You want to be like the scientist that's in the lab and with the test tubes and the beakers and all those things, and testing out those different concoctions, or even the person that might be a chef and is putting together a really phenomenal recipe. So that's it for today. Just don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to track those experimentations so that you can eventually get your way to the success that you want to have.